It's highly more likely to see them just pick up that Olaf if it's handed back over to them. And there is a highlight on it, and Ashe right now. And if you do pick the Ashe with Caitlyn and Jin being left open, it is a soft counter, and that's something that Fang is obviously going to have a lot of comfort with. Although I would have expected a more traditional Caitlyn or Jin pick, given that they were both open from SK Telecom.
That's very true. Gonna get locked in the Ashe Olaf combo. Like I said, maybe he's not first picking that Olaf away from SKT. It's a little bit of a problem there. You can see on your screen in Coma, probably the most overworked coach in League of Legends, still back at it behind his teams. They face off against KEG, Chungnam, who have 2 more picks left to come their way. Now for Fire Rain, when it comes to this guy, a big fan of the Mordekaiser like we mentioned earlier. He also has quite a bit more, including things like the Vladimir that's being hovered over, and of course a big Zed and Rise fan as well, even in the current meta. So the Vladimir makes a lot of sense to see, as it is his second most played champion.
Yeah, and Kennen Hover. So my problem with this is you have a Karma already, who is a pretty hard-hitting magic damage support. You have Kennen healing from the top lane, and now you pick a periodic damage dealer in the mid lane as well inside of the Vladimir. KG's draft, in my eyes already, is actually really disastrous.
Yeah, where's the physical damage coming from? It's not really Kennen Doran's way, that's for sure. So you're going to need to pick up some more along the way. What's SKT looking for now is they close in on the lock-ins. It's going to be a Jace and Nami.
Yeah, the Nami is just there to basically disrupt the Kennen. It also disrupts any sort of super hard engage attempts off the Karma, trying to speed up her team into coming into SK Telecoms. And I mean, at this point, and Ezreal also deals a little bit of magic damage, and the Lee Sin. And I mean, at this point, and Ezreal I can't help but feel like this pick ban has already been actually super disastrous, because this Olaf is actually going to have the luxury of potentially being able to go Solari's Locket into a Spirit Visage and just continuously stack magic resistance against this KEG team, and I can't see a way in which they can actually win team fights if it reaches the mid game.
And we were actually talking about this earlier. No jungler snowballs quite as hard as Olaf when he gets a lead in the early game and against KEG Chungnam. You can see that they're staying true to what they mentioned in their pre-game interview, is saying that they're just going to play their game and do the best that they can on what they know, and then hopefully that is good enough to lead them to a good showing versus SKT.
Yeah, and it looks like Malzahar, a pick that was almost entirely absent at Worlds, but we did get to see him a lot yesterday, is picked up here for SK Telecom. So that's going to be a mid lane Malzahar against the Vladimir. So that's going to be a mid lane Malzahar.
Didn't see it all day one. It came out several times yesterday, and now back in the mid lane there for Faker. Unless they want to switch that up, pull a Trace and put that Malzahar from the top lane. Should put that Malzahar from the top be swapped into the mid lane for Faker to see how he pilots that Void Mage.
And Vladimir in mid against Malzahar doesn't have such a bad time. Malzahar does have ways to still kill Vladimir even through his pool, mostly due to the Malefic Visions. But nonetheless, I mean, these lanes for KEG look pretty horrible. It's gonna put a lot of pressure on Jayha to actually find ways to make stuff happen. And I just feel like SK Telecom absolutely obliterated this draft.
Certainly does seem that way. And let's go ahead and go over the rosters for both teams, starting for KEG Chungnam, Wute, Jayha, Fire Rain, Jihoon, and then rolling it over to SK Telecom, T1, your world champions. Profit on a very aggressive Jace pick to go up against that Kennen. Blank, Faker, Bang, and Wolf. Starting roster there for SKT. So if you want to get out there and show your support for our team, hashtag SKT win, hashtag KEG win, as we get into our first game of our second series of the night. SK Telecom versus KEG Chungnam.
판사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, well, here we go. I was actually waiting for our crowd cheers to start this off. It looks like we'll be foregoing those for the very interesting early game that could be set up. Now, Blank is actually going to face check into Jaeha and Shandong. Jihoon coming around the side. Blank dropping very, very low. We could see first blood against SKT here very, very early. But Blank popping the ghost, and he'll actually make it out alive. All right, well, not the way that SKT may have wanted to start things off, but they're going to trade 2-for-1 in summoners, which is actually a good start for KEG Chungnam.
Yeah, and that was actually that Lee Sin thing that we got to almost see happen in the previous game, where the jungler comes bottom immediately to look for those sort of like cheese attempts and deny it and punish. And pretty big win for Chungnam as they get 2 summoners for 1.
That is true. It's going to be the exhaust on Changdong that was sacrificed there. So all in all, almost a kill on the Blank, but Ghost is a pretty short cooldown, and so he should have that summoner up by the time he's through his initial jungle route and ready to gank. So now no safe fan across the map. That was actually a pretty aggressive early start. The first one that we've really seen so far this tournament, aside from the last KEG team we got a chance to see out on the field. But let's go ahead and talk about the way that both of these teams are starting out. Neither duo lane deciding to start a camp early, and both junglers starting on opposite sides of the map.
Yep. And Olaf not needing a leash at all, and he is one of the fastest clearing junglers in the game.
Continuing to just see trades there around the bottom half of the map. Deep ward placed around the Raptors by Faker. And Fire Rain there in lane against him. Really excited to see that matchup. Fire Rain, out of all of the members of KEG Chungnam, has the most professional competitive experience. Now, if that's the best thing that you can say about your mid laner when they're going up against Faker, it's still a pretty big mismatch. So having to keep an eye on that. Of course, that ward by the Raptor camp did not actually spot out Jaeha while he was walking around to his red buff. So actually a pretty big miss there, as that was why the ward was placed there initially.
Yep, and a little hawk shot coming out by Bang that will discover Jaeha. And now they know exactly where he is and what routes he can possibly take. And I mean, when you're on a Lee Sin with as difficult lanes as Jaeha has right now, this is what I was talking about in the pick and ban phase, it almost feels like he's going to be entirely useless early on.
Oh, Chandong trading very heavily with Wolf, who at least seemingly has a sustained advantage, although it's Karma and you can always mantra yourself into some extra health if you want to. Now, Jaeha over around the same area that Blank is, coming around the corner, but opts for the Scuttle Crab instead of heading towards his blue. Blank still on it. If Jaeha comes around the corner, he might actually be able to steal that away. Blank not actually choosing to smite that. So, wow, that actually could have been a great steal attempt. Jaeha up towards the top half of the map. Prophet looking to maybe knock it back away. He knows the Blank is there. Double buff Olaf right on top of there. Can they turn that around? No, it does not look like KEG Chungnam want to turn that around. Instead, it's going to be first blood taken by Blank.
Yep, and that is one of the worst things that you could ever have happen. Wute is going to be really far behind now, up in the top lane, and Olaf, when he gets ahead, and now stealing away the Gromp. What this actually does here is that now you know exactly where Lee Sin can go, and now the most problematic lane for KCN is going to be under a lot of pressure without jungler aid, and so you can just see how this all started out. Prophet actually, I think, manipulated this really well. He knew that he could survive a gank from this angle, flashes into Blank, and honestly, this was orchestrated really well by him because he got them to overextend and he got them to take unfavorable positioning inside of the 2v2 and results in a first blood for SKT.
Yeah, that Shockwave Axe combo, just so much damage out there in that trade, but now we've got action in the mid lane. It's Jaeha and Fire Rain. They're the ones forced to run away from Faker. Those Voidlings are actually almost killing Jaeha. Voidlingu, no, it's not going to find it, but in the end, another gank avoided there by SK Telecom. This time they didn't take the enemy jungler with them, although Blank is certainly there to make it possible. He will escape the Raptor resetting. Blank's not going to take no for an answer and will be able to steal this Raptor away as the Hawk Shot flies over just to check it out.
And so now, what do you really do if you're Jaeha? You know that the enemy doesn't have any wraiths, you can't steal that, your wolves are gone, your Gromp is gone.
Blank in the mid lane, Ghost forced out. Fire Rain should be safe and sound here. And I think at this point, even Blank a 2v1 with the lower health bars that Janam do have there. And okay, Jeha is actually going to get a chance to try that 2v1 out. Blank is faring pretty well at this point.
Yep, and Jeha, I mean, his route is completely predicted. You saw the pings go down on the ground because that's the only place he can go. There's no other jungler camp up, and Blank just piggybacking on top of Jeha really keeps him constrained. And
oh, the flash in from Faker on Fire Rain. He will be able to pull back away. The Malefic Visions run out. Fire Rain survives alive.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty uncharacteristic of Faker. Usually when he pulls the trigger on flash, you would expect him to know whether or not someone is going to die.
Good job there by Fire Rain. Maybe knowing that he was not going to get taken down, but oh, Blank. Okay. Blank not going quite far enough to find that kill onto Jeha. And the tri-bush was warded out, so wouldn't have been able to find that either. Now, you just got back from Worlds LS, where you got a chance to see Faker and the rest of SK Telecom dominate their way to victory. What was it about SKT that most impressed you there that we can look forward to seeing on display here in the KeSPA Cup?
SK Telecom can basically do everything. One of the surprising things, though, is that Blank is being fielded tonight instead of Bengi, given that Bengi was all 3 of their victories in the finals against Samsung Galaxy. So it basically, they just do everything. I don't feel like they have any clear-cut defining traits like some of the other Worlds teams that were in the semis. But they are the world champions, so they're no slouches.
Really interested to put all eyes. Oh my gosh! All right, well, right as I was about to say, all eyes on Prophet, their new top laner. He gets a 1v1 solo kill against Wu-Tae. Doesn't get much more impressive than that. Nice to see him at least know when to pull the trigger to pick up that solo kill.
Yeah, and actually, I've been really impressed with Prophet. I mean, it's only 8 minutes into the game, but the way that he's done things it's been very intentional. And he's just actually showing a very high level of foresight and understanding of the lane, not just in the Ken and Jace matchup, but top lane overall.
And speaking of things being intentional, Prophet comes from the Chinese team Young Glory. If you've been keeping up with the Chinese League of Legends, you've gotten a chance to see them play and him play on it. Well, that team is actually coached by Puman Du, former support player for SK Telecom. So nice to see how things kind of keep coming back around. It's a small world out there. Now Prophet has come from the Chinese region over here to Korea to play on SK Telecom. Certainly a big opportunity for any player out there in his debut matches here in the KeSPA Cup.
Yep, and right now in this match, Faker does have a CS lead in mid, but some of that is actually negated by the fact that Fire Rain has been killing Voidlings, and that is not attributed inside of the CS score. So
bottom lane, Chandong and Jihoon, not long for this world. Even Prophet coming down to pick up himself up, not one, but both kills. Now 4-0 the start for SK Telecom as they dominate that bottom lane.
Yeah, and now Faker looking to pick up Dragon with his team right here. Blank coming over, and Blank looks like he's just going to actually solo that. So that's going to be First Blood Tower. Please give it to Bang solo. And cool. That is what they are going to do. So that is good. So they put the First Blood Tower gold onto Bang. And this is a pretty rough spot to be in for Chungnam, because it's just the issue with their draft really starting to surface as well, as to just getting outplayed by SK Telecom. So you see this, one of the most cookie cutter 4-mans on bottom, and there was nothing they could do. And even if for some reason some sort of resistance was occurring, Faker was already on his way.
And we actually saw the very exact same play happen on the opposite side of the map in our first series of the night by Samsung against Rising Star Gaming. That classic teleport bottom lane cookie cutter dive, and it works out once again. Now top lane, Jeha just going to get suppressed, depressed, and headed back to base the hard way. Faker there for his first kill of the game.
Yeah, and Jeha not really having a very good game thus far. Blank denying vision control by Chandong. Now Faker going back into mid lane. And I mean, at this point, the question that you really have to ask yourselves is, oh, well, hold that thought. As Jeha, I mean, he was trying to come up here to make something happen, but honestly, it just doesn't really make any sense because after the bottom tier 1 turret falls and you don't see any intel on Wolf, you really have to wonder where is he? Because you can only assume that actually there is a rotation headed toward top lane.
That's kind of the BM replay. We just see him face check and die, and then it's not enough to watch him die once. We have to watch him die again. Stop, he's already dead, literally. But we got to keep an eye on it. Well, here's the ghost from Faker. We'll see what he can make. No ultimate up there, but can this actually be the turnaround that Chandong needs? Jihoon is actually the one to get locked up. He's going to die there from the Malefic Visions. They will actually reset onto Jaeha. Those Voidlings chasing him out. It might be another kill coming in from Faker. The Voidlings do find that kill, but now Faker's in a little bit of trouble. He's going to go down there to Fire Rain, as at least it is going to be that 1-for-2 exchange, still in SKT's favor, but the first kill on the board for Chungnam.
Yeah, first kill indeed, definitely worth. You killed Faker. That's probably how they're looking
Somewhere
at
out
it.
there, the ghost of Dumbledore is rolling over.
It was all worth, if only for that. So Faker ghosted really prematurely. They were unaware that Chandong and Jaeha were here, but it doesn't really matter. And you can just see the damage from Faker is absolutely enormous. And Jaeha ended up getting locked up basically by Faker and staying a little bit too long, ends up dying to the Malefic Visions and the damage from the Voidlings. And all the meanwhile, Prophet up in top lane getting a little bit of profit for SK Telecom as he raised a tower.
I see what you did there, LS. Very well named. He is going to be cashing in there. And of course, SKT cashing in for an almost 5,000 gold lead here at almost 13 minutes. So things looking very, very good. Of course, if you want to check out the gold charts, you can actually see the Prophet is the richest player on the team once again, living up to his name.
Yep. And now, I mean, just look at how Prophet's itemizing. Maul of Malmortius, and he already has the magic resistance tier 2 boots. And this is the problem that Chungnam's team composition has, is that you can just stack magic resistance, and you can actually see Olaf has the option to actually go into lock-in.
Jaeha looking to get that, but you can't kick Faker. He's got his passive up, and that kick is completely ineffective. Jaeha now trying to get back over the wall to the red buff. That's now chasing him back away. Blank there to walk into red buff's loving arms. Watching Prophet take that turret down, exciting though it may be, not where the action's at. That's around the red buff, but here comes Jihoon just to clear the wave, save that second tier turret. Keep it from going down here. Blank will inevitably secure this red buff after smiting at 91 HP. Taken away from KEG Chungnam. Chandong up to try to stop the recall, but just barely not in time. The siege continues in the mid lane for SK Telecom.
Yep. And SK Telecom looking to raise this tier 1 mid turret. I don't even think that KCN can really resist this once 1 or 2 more waves arrives. And Dragon coming up in just over a minute now. SK Telecom obviously the ones in position to be getting that. Wow, Wolf actually hit that bubble.
Certainly did. Now Jihoon is actually so low. The exhaust's going to come down, but it's not enough to hit the save. There's the suppression. The Nether Grasp allowing another kill for Prophet. Come on through. Fire Rain trying to turn that one around. He does get a big heal from that Hemo Plague, but it's not enough to find any kills. And SK Telecom get in for 2 kills and now get out with another one of Chungnam's buffs.
And blue buff gonna go over to Faker, I believe. The Voidlings were there to clean that up as Chungnam looks to try to capture a turret. It would be their first of the game. So far they only have that 1 kill, 6k gold lead at 15 minutes. Not a situation that you want to be in. And I mean, if you just, again, going back to their itemization, you look at it right now. Vladimir forced to itemize Spirit Visage as his first item. The only source of magic damage really coming out from SK Telecom is on Faker. So the fact that he's forced to itemize to defend against Faker is just going to basically enable him to get completely obliterated by Bang and Prophet. And meanwhile, on SK Telecom's side, they can just continue to stack magic resistance and build normally, and there's nothing that Chungnam can do about it.
Righteous Glory completed there on Blank. He's got a little bit of magic resistance, but more than that, he's just going to be this powerhouse. He's going to be the Armageddon that runs the Ragnarok straight in to KEG Chungnam, who really might just not be able to do it. Now, to deal with it, Jaeha does secure an Inferno Drake there for KEG Chungnam at the cost of the second tier turret. So was that really worth it to get that dragon for KEG?
I mean, well, if they can manage to somehow hold on for another 20 minutes or so, yeah, it'll be worth it in the end. But I mean, giving resources to SKT, okay, well, Wolf might die here.
Okay, Wolf actually does get a nice knock up the flash away, and he's gonna survive an incredible escape there by the SK Telecom support.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's worth, but it's not worth because all SK Telecom want is to keep getting resources to just get those items and plow through Chungnam. So, I mean, generally an Inferno Drake is going to be a pretty good pickup, but in this case, it's not.
Is going to help maybe just a little bit there, but at the same time, not worth losing quite so much. And at this point, we're already cresting a 7,000 gold lead here at 17 minutes into the game. You don't mess around with SK Telecom because they are not messing around with Chungnam.
Now Siege is starting in mid lane. Faker not present for it, but that's probably not going to matter too much.
Deha off to the side. Sonic Wave maybe trying to come in there and look for an insec onto a valuable target, but just no opportunities. And now, okay, well, there's no Baron here. This is still a poor, helpless Rift Herald that's going to go down here. Kind of the crime of opportunity. SK Telecom in the area. If that had been one of those 15-minute Baron spawns from the days of yore, then that would certainly be going their way. Instead, it is Bang that's actually going to get the Rift Herald buff.
Yep. So they put that on Bang, not necessarily a bad choice at all. Will help for his all-in when he charges at someone when that thing is fully stacked. And 2 minutes until Baron. Almost a 10,000 gold lead here for SK Telecom at 18 minutes. I feel like this game is all but over, but then again, we did see a team yesterday manage to almost blow 10,000 plus gold leads.
Oh god.
In fact, they did.
If you guys have not seen that Longzhu versus Jin Air series that LS is referencing, go check it out. Neither here nor there. Here is where we are. Prophet kind of playing with a little bit of fire here. 1v3, and there's the flash. The tether will land. There's an exhaust as well. Emo Plague underneath the turret. Fire Rain's going to go for it. Go for it. There's the kick underneath the turret. The arrow flying through, but it's not enough to save the SKT top laner, who will fall for the second kill on the board for KEG Chungnam.
All right, so Rapid, let me tell you what they just did. They blew a flash, another flash, a ghost,
An exhaust,
and an exhaust just to kill Prophet.
We're going to watch all of those summoner spells and more be used right here. Prophet trying to do the utmost to survive, and at this point, this is when you just know the world hates you. There's 3 enemy champions blowing all of their summoner spells just to find a kill on that hapless top laner. Now, Jeha does get the Smite Steal away there from Wolf, or from Blank rather. He prevents the Smite Steal from coming in. So here's the red buff for what feels like the second time this game, because Blank has been all over his jungle.
Yep, and I mean, at this point, Baron coming up in 30 seconds. They have Faker down there in the bottom lane, and I feel like SK Telecom's actually being a little bit more passive than they need to be. Also, a Bomby Cinder now out for Blank, so expect to see Cinder Hulk in the coming moments.
Not even really having to itemize that much magic resistance. He's completely ahead of the game here when it comes to tanky stats. Here comes a nice tidal wave. It actually does just barely catch Jeha in a little bit of a rough spot. Perfect bubble landed there by Wolf, and that's going to allow Blank to take him out. He's going to Ragnarok his way all the way through that Paisley and jungler and really claim control once again. Throwback to the days of Demoy that Diamond Prox was just owning up the jungle. Blank kind of doing the same thing, saying, this belongs to me.
And remember that teams with Malzahar are immune to Baron and Elder Dragon as long as Malzahar has near 30% CDR. So as you can see, they're not really taking a lot of damage.
Teleport coming in, and okay, that teleport actually canceled. I think SKT just going for the bonus, canceling the TP. Now re-engage. Okay, Prophet's actually almost dead, so gotta play it carefully, and SKT will disengage there from the Baron. That actually feels like kind of a win for KEG Chungnam, just utilizing that summoner spell to push SKT off the objective.
Yeah, it does come at the cost of their teleport, which is actually very vital for Wu-Tai to be able to find a way into the backline of SK Telecom, because if you try to run straight up the front, Faker's just going to lock you down.
And when Faker locks you down, you're going to stay down. With the exception of that first time he tried to get the solo kill on Fire Rain and it didn't work out. there's an exception to every rule, but in general, Faker doing a great job so far. He's even in CS, but up 3-1. Fire Rain, though, you got to keep an eye on this guy. Even though he's found his kills in ways that are pretty much guaranteed, maybe a little bit too many resources invested into it, a kill is a kill nonetheless. And nice to see him living up to the hype that we gave him early on.
Oh, and another Inferno Drake actually will spawn. So if Chungnam can get that dragon, that would actually be super, super big for them at that point. Definitely, you're going to want to watch for if they can secure the vision control necessary in order to catch it out. And I feel like Faker and SK Telecom as a whole this game, even with their advantages, have been a little bit too safe. I don't like how passive they've been playing this and how they've moved Faker around the map. Definitely feels a little bit slow, but it doesn't matter as they are the ones in position to take this Inferno Drake, and I don't know why they're even moving towards mid.
Looking for a pick, and they will find it onto Wute. He's going to get some shields, but right into a perfectly arced bubble, and here goes Blank. There's no stopping this Olaf, or is there? As he runs in, runs right back out, and now SK Telecom on the Dragon. They did blow the Cannon Flash, which is big for stopping that engage on their team when they're clustered up for Dragon. And they did get Fire Rain's Ghost out as well, but was that really worth it?
Well, my issue with this is that they were moving towards mid as if Chungnam was going to try to do Baron as SK Telecom does Dragon, but they can't really do that because they don't have the damage in order to kill the Baron that fast before SK Telecom could respond. So it was a little bit weird because I feel like they can almost never actually find kills in that mid lane engagement. So it's a little bit of a wasted time, but nonetheless, Profit down here in the bottom lane. SK Telecom did get the Inferno Drake, and I don't even think Fire Rain should... Okay, alright, he's just gonna pick up the wave. That's fine. Profit gonna recall.
And at this point, Fire Rain is actually a really big asset to his team. When it comes down to perfect execution, in the magical fairy tale world where KEG, Chungnam get the perfect engage, it looks pretty sweet. Hemo Plague into a huge cannon ult, maybe a perfect insect on Bang in the back line, and lots of damage there to follow up from Changdong and Jihoon. Maybe that's going to be good enough. For SK Telecom, though, it certainly doesn't look like they're really even giving Chungnam the opportunity to even find an engage that looks remotely similar to that.
Yep.
Playing very carefully, very safely, unlike that last performance in Game 2 that we saw from Samsung.
And definitely SK Telecom would actually like to fight before Kennen can complete that Zanya's Hourglass. That would be an ideal scenario, and Wolf just clearing out vision inside of that Baron pit right now. No more vision around it for Chungnam, and again, SK Telecom taking their sweet precious time with this, and I can't actually see a reason for it. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't really know what's going on in that scenario or what's happening in the comms, but they could have driven home this lead way faster.
Maybe at this point you really have to just get into SK Telecom's heads and look at kind of the history of their team in this tournament. KeSPA Cup is the only title that SKT could have won that they haven't. They fell in the early stages to ESC Ever last year in what is one of the most memorable upsets, given that ESC Ever were completely unproven as a team at that point. So this time around, a much similar situation, but SK Telecom, coming off their Worlds victory, find themselves slow and steady as they look to win this race.
Yeah, and right now, oh, Faker got hit right there, but nothing's probably going to happen.
Does drop his passive just for a second. We've already seen that passive come up big as Jaeha tried to kick him around. It didn't actually work out. There's the arrow. Arcane shifted away from Jihoon, now trying to escape. Will flash away from there. That is the fastest Olaf you will ever watch, even under that exhaust. He's still able to push Jihoon backwards. Faker trying to get up into the front line, but he's actually going to be the first one going down as SK Telecom way overextend. They're going to lose a 2-for-1, and now Profit coming in. Can he actually be the one to close this up? It's just going to destroy Jihoon, get right on top of him, clear off. Okay,
the hammer animation is so hilarious.
Wute just got bopped on right there. He's one of the groundhogs that sticks their head up through those little holes, dropping the hammer right down on top. Profit saying, okay, well, my team can overextend. He's there to compensate with a triple kill.
Yeah, and Prophet clown bopping Chungnam right out of the game. And
that's the new technique, the clown bop, when you just gotta get that last hit with a hammer.
Do you know what Debonair Jace's splash art looks like in the loading screen? It reminds me of Negan from The Walking Dead.
Oh my god.
That hammer right now, that's named
Big fan of bopping itself. Now, we're going to watch Blank run circles around the entire KEG Chungnam team. Goes in, goes back out, but Faker, getting, to Jaeha's credit, kicked right back into the middle of the enemy team. Perfect capitalization, but now it's KEG Chungnam that just aren't ready for the Prophet.
Yeah,
about to predict their untimely demise.
Right there, he told him that Debonair Jace is better than Debonair Ezreal, and Wu-Tae got the hammer as well. And this is what I meant. You just saw the damage that came out of Prophet, and there's nothing Chungnam can actually do to resist that damage right now. And so why these team fights aren't happening sooner, I'm really not sure, because Jace will actually just one combo 3 members on Chungnam's team.
That's true. There's no lethality in League of Legends yet at this point. On this patch, it's all about the flat armor penetration. Prophet has so much of it, and at this stage, when you're this far ahead, I mean, it might be 30 minutes in, but he's just miles ahead of anyone on Chungnam.
And Faker being in bottom lane, I mean, this is a... I mean, I have to call a spade a spade. This is actually pretty moronic to have him in bottom lane at this point, because there's no reason to drag the game on. You just saw what Jace can actually do. And having him down there, he doesn't gain anything from these weird split pushes. He doesn't threaten anything. If he had teleport, it would be one thing. But to keep enabling the enemy team to keep scaling, they still do have a Vladimir and an Ezreal, so stuff can get scary if it does reach that super late game stage, and I just don't know what's happening or why they're not accelerating their advantage even faster.
Well, when it comes to accelerating, at least they're doing that very quickly. I've never seen an Olaf run quite as fast, quite as quickly as Blank when he really wants to, get in there and got to go fast. But that's about the only thing that SKT are doing very quickly at this point. Playing this very carefully, and at some point that becomes a little scary when you do things like the Baron. If it gets stolen away, maybe that's a way back in for Chungnam. But this is sort of setting up to be sort of the Prophet highlight reel. The new player on SKT playing his heart out in this great opportunity to help them win the only tournament they've never been able to.
Yeah, and Cloud Drake going to be picked up here by SK Telecom, and I really just don't understand what is going on, because it is so easy to do a Baron bait with Malzahar right now, and they're not going for it, and I can't wrap my head around why.
Oh, ye of little faith, LS. Sometimes you witness so much greatness that it just overloads you. It's too much. It's like, it's like degrees. You start at 0, you go over to 360, and it might look like 0, but it's actually 360 because you've come all the way around. Now looking for the pick there from SK Telecom. That was like a desperate attempt at an analogy to try to make sense of what's going on, because at this point, SK Telecom is, I don't know, taking their good sweet time with everything.
I mean, I don't know really what to say. Okay, they finally are going to start the Baron.
No damage, of course, being taken from this thanks to Malzahar's Void army. They're hesitating. They're trying to pull off. It looks like they're just going to go for the stats here, picking off Chandong almost immediately. There's a big chemo play on the 3. Fire Rain going in. He's going to get a big heal and stay alive thanks to all of his magic resistance. That won't help him against Prophet, however, who's coming in with more damage than he knows what to do with. Wu-Tae's got other plans, and he's going to actually Proto Belt on top of the entire SK Telecom team, who are melting under what appears to be a relatively good fight for KEG Chungnam. Now, Jaeha versus Prophet. Jaeha with a flash over the wall. Prophet might actually still look for that one. The Shock Blast, nice dodge. Jaeha stays alive, and at the end of everything, that's a 2-for-3 exchange.
I mean, it's actually not even funny right now, because Prophet had flash, Faker had flash, Bang had flash. Let's watch this again. So, Chandong gets caught up immediately, completely deleted from the fight, And you're going to see Jaha actually give Faker, or he's going to do him a favor and knock him into even better position. You see how low Jihoon is, and look at where Prophet is. Now, he doesn't have Flash right now, but he couldn't make up his mind, and because of that, Faker ends up going down to Fire Rain. Bang ends up getting locked up as well, and then Prophet just able to find a kill onto Fire Rain right at the end. And actually, my mistake, his Flash did not come up until the very, very end of the fight, so I criticized him unfairly. But still, his indecisiveness is questionable, and just the positioning by SKT as the fight kept developing was also a little bit weird.
Like you said, so many things going well for SK Telecom. They find the pick. Faker gets knocked into a great position. Got to give some credit to Wute, who just had the manliest of cannon ults right into the middle of SK Telecom, locked them all up, took Wolf down, helped Faker ultimately meet his untimely demise. And that's a little worrying now that we're starting to see SK Telecom, slow and steady, might win the race if you're a turtle. But this is SK Telecom, the best team in the world by a lot of different measures, and seeing them have those struggles against Chungnam, a little worrying.
Yeah, this is definitely a little bit worrying indeed. Ghost almost up for Faker, Flash up for Prophet this time around, and Blank, so full spells and almost a Guardian Angel actually for Blank. And
okay. Well, Faker just wants to make a pick happen, and he will. Bang with the arrow to connect as well. That might just be the pick that SK Telecom need for Baron.
Yeah, and you see a ping going down there on bottom lane. That means that Prophet is free to just basically keep pushing the wave. And if Wute teleports, they can easily back off this Baron and let Prophet get the inhibitor turret.
Well, they're continuing to stay on it. Voidling's tanking up the majority of the damage. Jihoon having to be careful there as the Arcane shifts over the wall after almost getting caught out. In the meantime, Prophet going to town. You see the good communication there from SK Telecom, telling him he's good to go on that bottom lane to take the turrets.
Yeah, and now an 11,000 gold lead for SK Telecom here. Still no turrets for Chungnam either.
Teleport coming in this time from Prophet to aid the rest of his SKT team as they do take that Baron down to half HP, and it's do or die right now. KEG Chungnam will not be able to get there in time to steal the Baron away from SK Telecom. Shandong and Jihoon off to the side are actually taking a lot of damage. Faker is forced away. Another gigantic ult from Wute starts to turn this fight maybe around. He is going to take so much damage, and Prophet is just unmatched. Nothing that they can do to stop this SK Telecom top laner aside from just kick him away. A perfect shot blast. It's a triple kill so far. Blank to finish things off, and that is a 5-for-1 exchange. Bang, the only casualty of war is SK Telecom sweeps the fight.
Yeah, and Prophet is just absolutely enormous in this game, and this is going to be the final push right here. They are going to raise those turrets super quick, and with the Baron buff minions, there's no hope anymore for Chungnam, at least not in game number 1. But still, nonetheless, they did still have some pretty decent team fighting against SK Telecom at certain points, and turns out an 11,000 gold lead is pretty good.
That'll do it. Game 1 victory, 21-8 for SK Telecom T1 over KEG Chungnam. And while it was somewhat inevitable there towards the end, some signs of life from KEG. A great performance there by Fire Rain in the mid lane, holding his own against Faker. And for Wute up in the top lane, his cannon ults were actually so good. So just going to need to see more of the same with less of those difficulties. And for SK Telecom, maybe step on the gas a little bit more to more decisively pick up these wins. We're going to head off to a quick commercial break here any moment now as we prepare ourselves for the second game of our final series of this round of 12. Hope you guys have been enjoying the games tonight. Get out there, hashtag KeSPA Cup, as we get ready to come back for game number 2 of SKT versus KEG Chungnam.